Every single thing you said you wanted to accomplish, you wanted to do, guess what? It is not lost. Some of y'all thinking the year is lost. It's over. Listen to me, there's hope, but you gotta believe it. Listen to me, you can't do nothing without faith. You can't do anything without faith. It's impossible to accomplish anything without faith. So I need you to believe at some point in September, October, November, or just before the year ends in December, it's gonna happen, all right? So I need you to have faith. I believe in you. That's why I get up and I come out here every morning, every Monday morning, because I believe, all right? I believe you can do it. I'm so excited because somebody looked at me when I was a high school dropout. Somebody looked at me when I was homeless, and they said, I believe in you. That although you are a high school dropout, right now you're at the worst place in your life that you've ever been, I believe that this is your beginning, but this doesn't have to be your end. That just because you are currently here, this is your present circumstances, that life don't have to end for you right now. So I need you to get busy living. Are you hearing me? I need you to get busy living. There is still time. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, as long as you can wake up in the morning, listen to me, you still in the game, which means if you're in the game and there's still time in the game, still time left in the game, you can still win the game. The thing I love about the zone is that once you get in the zone, your work will work for you. You're working, you're trying to get something going. But when you get into the fourth quarter, your work begins to work for you. When you get in the zone, you're able to do things effortlessly. You put in 120% every time, or you don't put in nothing, because listen to me very closely. Today, this opportunity you have, it might not be here next year. It might not be here the year after next. It might not be here the year after that. This is the only moment you got. It took me 12 years to get a 4-year degree. My book is a bestseller, and I failed English 3 times in college. But the difference between me and most people is you might be sweeter than me. You might be bigger than me. You might grind. Listen to me, I don't know. You might have money. I don't know where you come from, but you will not outwork me. The great
greatest project you will ever work on is yourself.
I'm not in here speaking like I'm getting paid 20. Listen to me, I'm in here like I'm getting 30. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm gonna take advantage of it.
You are a miracle. Now go out there and live like one.
Whenever there's an argument between your heart and your mind, follow your heart. There are things that the heart can understand and feel that the mind cannot relate to. There are things that you feel, that you know in your heart of hearts, that's not logical, it's not practical, it's not realistic, but there's something in you that says, I can do this. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry refuse to give up. I'm willing to make this happen. No excuse is acceptable. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I can do it. If anybody's ever done it at any point in time in history, then what's possible for one, it's possible for me, and I'm going to do it.
So whatever you gotta do, you do it. But I'm not about to compromise because you're inflicting pain.
Sometimes it's gonna hail on your crop and rain on your parade, so you got to get ready for that or you will be naive. That's just part of the life arrangement.
You here. He blessed you to be here. Do something.
But there's just times, sometimes you lose. That's part of life.
And there are those of you were this close, but you compromised. If you're still talking about your dreams, if you're still talking about your goals, but you have not done anything, just take the first step. You let your feelings get the best of you. I'm asking you to take the first step. The first step is stop talking about it. The second step is just take one step toward it. And then the next day, take another step toward it. When you become the right person, I'm telling you, you can make whatever kind of money you want to make. You can have whatever you want to have. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, there are no limitations. Somebody telling you when to come to work. Somebody telling you when to take lunch. Somebody telling you when to do a vacation. Somebody telling you what you can and cannot do. Some of us, we were born to fly. But what I'm telling you is when you become the right person, what I mean by the right person is once you identify who you are and you begin to separate yourself from the masses and you begin to see your individuality, when you begin to see your talents, when you begin to see your personal skills. It's all about freedom, and the more you become you, listen to me, the more you become you, the less you got to take orders and the more you can start giving orders. And I'm not talking about giving orders to others, I'm talking about giving orders to yourself. You can't get to the level economically where you want to be until you start investing in your mind. You're not reading books. I got guys in school talking about they want to be rappers and they don't have a dictionary. You want to be a rapper and you don't have a thesaurus? I'm challenging y'all a book a week. I'm challenging y'all to go to conferences. I'm challenging you guys to invest in your mind. Every day when you wake up, every single day when you wake up, you got two options. You can look at the clock and hit the snooze. You can look at that snooze button, boom, you can hit the snooze button and go back to bed. That's right, and do what? And dream. That's right, you can go back to sleep and dream about what you want to have. You know, watching MTV, watching BET, read magazines and dream about what you want to be. Right there with your comfortable pillow, you dreaming about what you want to be. Or you can look at that snooze button, kick that clock and get up and go pursue your dreams.
You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities. You've got to believe in your service, your company, your ideas. Unquestionably, You must have faith. It's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's difficult. Yes, right. And it's worth it.
Every single thing you said you wanted to accomplish, you wanted to.
Hey, sugar. Evening, y'all. Man, I wanted to share that with all of you based on just the state of the world right now. Like, we all have to persevere. We all have to tap into that inner strength and try and find a way to make it through these trying times, because let's be honest, things are uncertain and there is a state of panic and fear in the air. And only those that are strong, that are knowledgeable and well educated are going to survive. So I want you all to just take that with a grain of salt as we start this evening's class, because it's uncertain of the state of the world today. And so I just wanted us all to have the right mindset, since we know that we're all are in a position to help the world go through this situation through the education and the technology that we have access to. And so with that being said, as I start all of our calls, I like to say, hey, NSA. And it's just to let you know that I am not a financial advisor that is licensed to give you financial advice as to how to invest your money. I am just simply here to share with you some information, some insight, some technology tools, right? Some trading strategies, right? That is going to help you become more profitable and ultimately become a master trader. So as I start all of our calls with our daily affirmation, I am so thankful and grateful now that I have confidence, patience, and discipline so that I am a master trader. All right, evening, guys. Welcome to the Harmonic Scanner 52 Weeks to Freedom course. This is class number 6. I want to congratulate you all for joining the call, because we have a lot of information to cover that's going to piggyback on where we left off last week. And I'm hoping those that were on the call or that got a chance to watch the recording has taken the initiative to go through your tracker and complete it at least up until the first week of March, so that way you can start to see a pattern in the market. All right. So just so that I know where we are and how I need to address what I'm going to cover this evening. Do we have any questions about what I covered last week about the ATR? Or are there people on the call that have not had a chance to take a look at it yet?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. That's good to know, because then that'll help me so that I can help you. All right. Okay, so the average true range, also known as the ATR, is really the average pip count that we have a mathematical calculation for, so that we know typically how many pips each pair gives out each week in one direction, right? The power of knowing that, right? if you know how many pips each pair is going to give out in a week's time, then that can help you set your trading goals, your pip goals for the week, especially if you're focusing in on one specific pair, which you all should be doing. And that's one of the things that you should know. You should know on average how many pips does your pair give out on a weekly basis. And if you know how many pips is given out, then you should know if it's moving to the downside, then it should be giving out typically that number of pips to the downside in a weekly basis. And if it's moving to the upside, then you should know typically how many pips that pair would give out going to the upside on a weekly basis. All right. Now, this is the mathematical calculation for the average true range. We take the high, we subtract the low for the week, and it gives us the average number of pips for that week for that pair. And if you notice, I've already have taken the liberty of calculating what EURUSD is starting the first week of January, subtracting the high from the low from the high, which gave us 120.7, 121 pips for that week. And we know that the mathematical calculation for our pips are slightly different when calculating the JPY pairs. So I gave you an example so you know how to calculate it. And if you notice, I've given it for the first week of January. And last week, I had already started working on completing the ATR for all of the pairs up until March 2nd. All right. So now that's what we went over last week. We went over some calculations together. And we're going to go through it again this evening, but we're going to go more in depth so that I can show you exactly how you should be using it and when you should be calculating it. All right. And we'll come back to this. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. All right. So I've broken it up in 4 week, 8 week, 12 weeks. And instead of starting with the week that we started, the 52 weeks, which was the beginning of February, I thought it was only more pertinent that we started at the beginning of the year so that we can get an accurate picture of what the entire year of 2020 is going to look like when it relates to the ATR. And if we do this thing correctly, by the end of the year, we will have an accurate picture of what each pair does on an annual basis. And we should be able to see seasonal trends and all of those types of things as we move forward. All right, so now check it out. If you notice, as I mentioned last time, each week that is moving in a downward direction is in red. If it's moving in an upward direction, it's in blue. And if you notice, you'll start to see a pattern in the pairs, which will start to recognize the direction of the trend. And you should be able to see where there is either a pullback or a reversal happening as we start collecting the information. And if you notice, the ATR is going to give you an average based on the total number of pips for the 4 weeks divided by 4, which will give you an average pip count for the week based on the data that we've already collected. And if you have been doing this, you'll notice that NZD USD for the first 4 weeks of the year gave out the least amount of pips. It had the smallest ATR, right? Which was 96. And if you notice, it typically stayed in that area. And then you'll start to notice fluctuations in the market. And as we start studying more in-depthly these pairs, you're going to be able to recognize what is impacting the market, causing those spikes. And there's certain things that I have already noticed. In those first 4 weeks, you'll also notice that GBP odd gave out the most pips according to the ATR. It was typically going to give out 437 pips. And if you notice, it was running shy of that, and then it started spiking. Right? I also did the 8 weeks. So if you notice, based on 8 weeks, AUD NZD, I think is the one that gave out the least amount of pips. Yep. Averaging at about 100. And if you notice, it's not that far off. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be giving you a spot on number of pips, but it'll typically give you an average of pips that you can anticipate that pair is going to give out, with some fluctuation based on the market makers and those outside extenuating forces that we need to learn about so that we can prepare ourselves for, especially in times like now. All right. And if you notice, each time that we calculated it, I also gave you that following week. So this is actually the 9th week, so that you could see in comparison to where it was. And this is where we currently are. Right? I haven't calculated week 10. Right? So that still needs to be done.
How you doing? I'm just going over the trading from.
Say it one more time.
That's my fault. I was asking it. You said that the blue are in buys and the red in the sells, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And the color coding on the left, the yellow, the blue, the white. What's the color coding on the left for?
It's basically, it's in correlation to the currency strength, but they're not completely on point, because I was playing with how to show you which ones to pay attention to. So it's not really, it's not this, you don't have to worry about this. Here, I can do this for you. That's not important. If that helps. We can take it off of this one too. I'll leave these highlighted so that you know that those was the high and the low for the ATR. And we don't know what the high and the low for the 12-week count is yet, because this ATR isn't accurate, because the calculation is actually breaking these numbers down, but it's actually adding these 3 weeks, even though there's no numbers there. So as we continue to add more data into it, it'll become more accurate. But if you notice, it's pretty much spot on. And if you start really paying attention, look at some of these pairs. AUD-CAD has been continuously in a downward trend this entire time. Easy way for you to take a glance at this. Easy way for you to see this was a pullback and it's continuing to the downside. Right?
By chance, Ms. Jacqueline,
Mm-hmm.
this spreadsheet, I'm not really sure how to put these in the spreadsheet. Do you have one of these spreadsheets that you can post in a group so we can plug the numbers into them?
Yes, I posted it in the group last week with last week's recording, but I'll be adding this version of it into the study group so that you guys have it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, when we calculated these, someone brought up the point of when we were doing the calculations, we were using the Hakanashi candles. So all of these numbers are based on the Hakanashi candles, and the color coding is based on the Hakanashi candles. And I'll show you what I mean. All right. Let me move this out of my way. This is GBP JPY on a weekly basis, right? And if you notice, I put a vertical line showing the first week of 2020 so that we would know where the start of the year was, just at first glance. All right. And if you notice, Hakanashi candles, right? Now, on the chart, I calculate the high subtracting the low, right? Which should give you the average pips, the number of pips that it gave out in this candle. So when you do that calculation, high subtracting the low, it gives you the total number of pips within this candle or any candle. That's what you're figuring out. How many pips did that pair give out in that candle, in that week? And then once you figure that out, the spreadsheet will calculate what the average is based on the number of weeks worth of data that we have. I hope that all makes sense. All right. And if you notice, each week is color coordinated. So we're going to go back and I'm going to show you just to test it. GBP JPY, the first week, January 6, 2020, is a red candle, right? The high is 143.498. The low is 140.835. And I already did the calculations because I showed it to you in the PowerPoint. So it's 266 pips that was given out that week to the downside in GBP JPY. Right? All right, now I'm going to show it to you on the spreadsheet. GBP JPY, 266 pips to the downside. Everybody see that?
Not yet. Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, first one.
You see it? Here, I'll highlight it. 266. GBP JPY, week 1, January 6, 2020. It was 266 pips to the downside. because it was a red candle. Everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, that's how you reading this. And if you go back to trading view, you notice the second candle is a blue candle, right? And we did the exact same thing. We subtract the high and the low, giving us the pips for that week, and we record it in the tracker. Do you guys want to go through a calculation so that you see? Matter of fact, let's just do it for kicks and giggles. This week right here is the week that we're currently in, and today is Wednesday, which means this week has not closed yet. And if you notice, there is a large candle here. Let's calculate how many pips this pair has given out this week already. And if you notice, it's to the downside. I'm going to need your help. Someone's going to have to record the numbers, and we'll calculate it together. The high is 137.358, and the low is 124.044. Somebody got the numbers?
No. 137.358. The other number is 124.044.
Yes. Hold on. I'm going to pull up my calculator.
Do you need me to repeat it again?
Yep. Hold on. Give it to me now.
137.358. And the low
Minus?
is 124.044.
124.044?
Yes, ma'am.
How many pips is that? Does anybody know?
13 pips. 13.31.
I think it's 1,300 or 1,331.
Yes. 1,331.4 or 1,331 pips this week since Sunday, and the week ain't over yet. Right? Speechless. Can you imagine that? That this one pair has dropped that many pips in how many days?
3 days or 4 now.
Exactly. So now the question then becomes, is this pair going to consolidate for the rest of the week? Or is it going to continue to sell? And if you notice, when we go back to our charts, these are flat tops, aren't they?
Yep.
Yep.
And it broke the 50, didn't it?
Yep.
Right? And we ain't even started looking at these other things, have we?
No.
On a weekly basis. Right? And if you notice, it tells us we got a day and 21 hours left in this one candle. All right, now, there's something that I want to point out when doing the ATR. Although we're using the Hakanashi candles, there's something that you need to be aware of. The Hakanashis are going to tell us the overall trend, right? What it leaves out is all of the noise. What do I mean by the noise? it typically will leave out the pullbacks. So, because it basically takes out the pullbacks because it's looking at the overall momentum of the trend, so it's going to color coordinate the candle based on the direction of the overall trend. There are times when, if you're looking at the weekly chart and you're looking at the Hakanashis, it can be misleading and you can get caught in a pullback, or you can misassess or analyze your charts because the Hakanashis are saying that it's going in one direction. In actuality, that candle is moving in another direction. And you have to be able to withstand that in order to continue riding the wave. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
All right. And this is what I mean. If you notice, when I change the candles over to the Japanese candlesticks, it changes what color the candle was. That first candle in January 6th, that week of, is now a blue candle, not a red candle. Did everybody see that?
Yep.
This candle is going to change colors from red to blue. The pip count will stay the same because the high and the low stays the same, whether you calculate it on Hakanashis or you calculate it on the Japanese candlesticks. And I'll show you what I mean. This is a separate ATR tracker that I just created today because I noticed that. And I wanted to point it out. And I don't know whether or not we need a separate tracker because it's the exact same numbers, 266, 217, 189, and 203, right? No matter which tracker you go to. $266, 217, 189, 203. But the colors change. So although the trend is moving in one direction, when you're looking at the Japanese candlesticks, they actually show you what's actually happening in that candle, right? So even though the trend is moving in one direction, that candle might be moving in the opposite direction, which is what happened here. And I want you guys to make note of it. Whether it's on the same ATR tracker, I'm not sure how we can factor that in. So that not only is the information for the Hakanashis covered so that we can see the overall trend, but so that you don't get caught in this pullback. Or even a potential start of a reversal, because the Japanese candlesticks will show you that too, where the Hakanashis won't. It's going to be cleaner. Does that make sense?
It does, but which one? So then, what do you use then? The Hakanashi or the other ones for the?
You're using them both. You're going to have to use them both. So what I'm saying is you're calculating the ATR with the Hakanashi candles, right? Because you want to watch the overall trend. Because you don't want to get psychologically psyched out with the pullbacks. But You need to be aware that they're happening and when they're happening, because if you actually make an analysis and it's saying that it's moving in a downward direction based on the Hakanashis, and you don't take the time to switch back over to the Japanese candlesticks to make sure that it's not a pullback, right, or the start of a reversal, you could get caught of it. You could get caught in it, and it'll actually go in the opposite direction of what your analysis told you. Does that make sense?
Almost.
I know it's tricky. It's tricky. It's advanced, guys. The best I could say is just know that it happens. And the more that you start paying attention to it, it's going to make more sense. The more you start learning about why those things are happening and what view you're looking at this, or what set of lenses you're looking at this, that's going to help you. But I just want you to know that you're going to have to be well aware of these things. Just know that it's happening. And that I don't want you to be so narrow-minded that you miss some of these other things that are happening in the market that you're not going to be aware of if we don't tell you that they're happening. All right? Okay. Is there any that you want to take a look at for this week? Any pairs that you want to see right now? Since we got a little time.
We can look at the GBP/NZD. And I got a question. I kind of just try different pairs, and I try to look at the ones that we got for the international group.
Yeah.
But how do you determine which pairs are like your favorite pairs, so to speak? You know what I mean? Like how do you know which ones to like look at?
Well, that's a great question. It kind of comes with playing in demo, taking a look and back testing the pairs, determining what type of trader you are, what session you want to trade in, whether or not you are a scalper or intraday, or maybe you don't have a certain trading style and you kind of trade it all. It kind of all goes hand in hand. Like, for example, the GBP pairs move really fast. They give out the most pips, right? But then if you notice, they typically have the highest spreads because it costs more to place those trades. So if you have a smaller account, it's not wise to trade a GBP pair if your account can't handle the spread, right? And we've already talked about the swap and the influctuation in the spreads during certain times of the day. So depending on what pair you're trading, right, all of those factors come into play. So like, for example, as you complete your ATR, you know which pairs move at a slower pace. If they're giving out 100 or less than 100 pips in an entire week, that's a slow moving pair because it's not going to give you a lot of pips, which means in the course of an hour or the course of 4 hours, you're not going to get a lot of pips. It's going to take you a couple days, right? But if you have a pair that gives out 600, 700, 800 pips, right, in a week, or 400 or 500 pips in a week, then you know that that pair is moving pretty fast. So you'll notice that on the 15-minute and the 1 hour charts, right, you'll get out more pips. So for example, let's just look at GBP/NZD. Look at this candle right here. And this is mostly wick, which is what? What type of candle is that? Y'all see it? This one right here? which was last week's candle. This one. This big candle right here. It's a doji candle. It's the sign of a reversal, right? And look what has happened. It went from this long wicked candle to a selling candle, which is the week that we're currently in right now. Right? And look. That one candle, right, gave out 2,088 pips in 1 week, in 7 days.
Why didn't they call us and tell us that they were going to do that?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because we're going through a pandemic, right? We're going through a global economic reset. And if you're going to notice that the markets are going to do these kinds of moves. And I bet you it would be a safe bet that if we went back in time and started looking at the years where we had other types of incidences that affected our health scares, you know, economic crises, I bet you would see certain factors or things in the market that would have told us or helped us predict that those things were going to happen. But now we know. We didn't know before. But we know now, right?
Did you catch any of those drops that happened the other day when the market went down?
Yes. Yep. Yep, they were some good drops too. Mm-hmm. Just got to be watching, right? But with everything that's going on in the world, guys, the markets is volatile right now. But if you notice, the spreads is volatile too.
Yeah,
Especially this GBP NZD. I noticed on Hugo's way that first couple days, it was running real high. So I don't know if it was other brokers that was running high like that too, but it's something to pay attention to and watch out for. Let's see. What's another one? Oh, let's do USD JPY. Oh, look at that. Look at that candle last week. Ugh, it's a heck of a drop. And I'm cheating, raw, right? I'm using our measuring stick and I'm just drawing it, which is giving me an estimate of what the size of that candle is, right? It's not giving me accurate, like if I did the mathematical calculation, but that's about 737 pips. Let's just do it to just be on the safe side to know for sure. All right, somebody get the numbers. The high is 108.512 and the low is 101.180. And it's a red candle. Somebody got it?
Yeah, can you point to those numbers? I'm looking to see. Can you point to them, please?
You see these numbers up here at the top of the screen?
Right.
That are changing when I move my cursor?
Yep.
All right, so check it out. The O is for open. It's the price that the candle opened at.
Okay.
The H is for high. It's the high that the candle opened at.
Got it.
L is for low. C is for close. And it changes every time you place it on a different candle. And if you notice the color of the candle, if it changes, those numbers change. Right? And all you gotta do is place your cursor on your candle and you subtract the high from the low. Somebody got the numbers?
Yeah, Miss Nate posted them.
All right, cool. Let's go to the calculator. All right, let's see. Clear this, clear this. So the high is 108.512 minus 101.180, 733.2 pips. That's about what I said, right? And that's basically what our measuring stick gave us as well, right? And if you notice, this next candle is blue. But now check it out. Let's see. When we go back to our chart, I just want to point something out. Watch what happens when I change it over to the Japanese candlestick. Who's seen it?
Can you do it again?
Yep, watch.
So the red to blue change, or?
Yep.
The blue to red change, sir?
Yeah. So look, this candle on the Hakanashis was saying that it was moving in a downward direction, right? It's moving on a sell because overall the trend is moving down. The red is on top, it's pushing down. The 50 is starting to break and retest the 50. Everybody see that, right?
Yep.
But when you switch it over to your Japanese candlesticks, that candle is blue. The reason why it's blue is because although it opened and it spent the majority of its time moving in a downward direction, it actually pulled up. If you notice, it came down, it wicked all the way down here, and then it pulled all the way back up, and it basically closed, right? Moving in an upward direction. You see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. And it's basically retesting the 50. And we're going to find out, is it going to continue to go to the downside? Or is it going to actually break through and move to the upside? Right? And so this might just simply be a pullback before it continues to move down. You see why you need to be able to look at it from both viewpoints?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So what we should be doing is waiting until the market closes every week. And we know that on Saturdays, Saturday is the day that we should be studying, right? Because the market is basically closed to us. We can't place any trades in Forex because our brokers are closed. And so all we have to do is calculate the ATR for the previous week, and that will help us to make an analysis of what direction the market could be moving in for the week to come. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we should be working on as we move forward. And we're going to want to pay attention to which pair has the highest pip count. That means it's the most volatile. Which pair has the lowest pip count? Means it's the less volatile. How fast is it moving? What other observations can we pay attention to, especially since we're looking at both the Hakanashi and the Japanese candlesticks? And we always want to know, where are we currently in the market, so that we know, are we getting ready to go into a pullback? Are we getting ready to start a reversal? Are we in the middle of a trend? Those are all questions that we need to be asking ourselves when we be making these analyses. All right. Now, I've already showed you guys by looking at the charts, right? Even on a weekly basis, how you can use the Milwaukee sauce to help you place profitable trades, depending on what type of trader you are. Because if you notice, it's working on a weekly basis as well. Look, here's a sell right here. Here was the start of it at the cross. And if you notice, it wasn't until the second candle that the MACD actually crossed over, when it broke the 50, right? Broke the 50, red on top, red on top, red on top, below the zero. Right? Check it out. How many pips is that? 684 pips over 105 days. Now, can your account withstand that? Probably. It's possible. Right?
If you're in the right direction, of course it can.
Yeah, if you catch it at the right time. Right? If you know what it's going to do on a weekly basis, and you know what direction the overall trend is working on a weekly basis, then all you got to do is find the perfect entry on the smaller time frame and ride the wave all the way from cross to cross, up or down. All right?
I got 3 quick questions for you.
Yep.
All right. So if you were trading, or if you're marking up a 1 hour chart, you want to enter on a 1 hour time frame for the Milwaukee sauce, or you want to find a smaller time frame to enter? And then when it starts to pull back, do you get out, or do you wait until it's ready to cross again before you get out?
Okay, good question. So when I'm looking at the charts, I'm looking at the markups because my alerts come in. If you notice, they come in on the hour, right? But I also have them on the 4 hour, right? Because I trade like the bankers trade. I'm looking typically at 4 hour, day, week. I'm looking at longer trends, right? But I know that the early entry for the 4 hour comes on the hour, right? Because your smaller time frames are going to set up before the higher time frames do. But you want to know what the overall trend is, because you need to be trading in the same direction that that trend is moving in. Because if you don't, you could mistakenly think that you're going to get more pips than you're actually going to get, because you're trading a pullback and not the trend. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what you want to do is you want to use the trend to actually find an entry. So for example, if you know that UJ is moving downward, right, then you're going to be looking for an entry to go downward, because you know that for the week it's going to go downward. You know what I'm saying? The overall trend for that week is going to go down.
Right.
You don't want to go against the trend. Not until you get so advanced that it don't matter which direction. You catching it up, you catching it down. But when you first starting out, you really want to be trading with the trend. And even when you get advanced, it's more riskier if you trade against it. It's a safer analysis if you trade with it.
So for example, like I was in a trade earlier, the 1 hour it keeps saying is a buy on the same NZD, but the 15 minute started to go back for a sell, and I went all the way down to the 5 minute, 3 minutes, and I started seeing 3 and 5 minute candles forming for a sell, but the 1 hour was still in a real strong buy.
Yep.
You know, so am I paying attention to that 1 hour, or since I marked up the 1 hour and got it on the 15 minute, do I pay attention to the 15 minute to get out?
Okay, that's where the emotional comes in. That's where the emotional intelligence comes in. What's happening on the 15 minute is either two things. It's either a pullback that you need to be able to control your emotions and be confident in your analysis to say, no, the 1 hour and the 4 hour or the higher time frame said that this thing is moving in this direction for a nice amount of time, because that's really what this is. Each candlestick represents the time frame that you're in, right? So what you want to do is you're looking for the cross. So for example, I hit the cross, I get the cross on the 1 hour, and then I look for multiple confirmations on the other time frames, right? But what I will tell you is that if you're going to be looking at the smaller time frame, it's going to give you an earlier entry. So for example, here you see I drew this line here. This is where the cross happened on this buy on the hour. If you switch to the 15 minute, right? Only thing the 15 minute does is it gives you an earlier entry, but if you notice, it consolidates on the 15 minute before it actually does the move.
Is that on this chart, or are you talking about usually in general?
Usually in general. The 15 minute is gonna set up basically for the hour. But if you see the cross happen on the hour, then it's safe to just go ahead and jump in. Now, if you notice on the hour, it said it was ready for a clear buy, didn't it? But if you notice exactly where that clear buy was, it's not a clear buy on the 15 minute, is it?
Nope.
Which means you're going to consolidate for at least what? 1, 2, 3, for an hour before it actually does the move. You see it?
Yeah, so the hour candle would still be saying buy.
Yes.
I was in consolidation in 15 because the 15 is doing that consolidation before it breaks out.
Right.
Okay.
So basically the 15 minute is giving you basically almost an hour's window on this particular chart, and it might be different on different pairs, not sure, but it's basically giving you an earlier entry, right? A window to get in, but you have to be emotionally in control, because if you're not, this is going to be in the red for an entire hour before it actually moves to the upside. Can you handle that? Can your account handle that while that market plays back and forth in price during that hour? Same thing when it comes to the 4 hour. Oh, what is that? UJ on the hour just crossed. Let's see. Look. Indicating a buy, right? Blue on top, 50 underneath, blue on top, blue on top. Yeah. And the 15 minute says what? Yep, look, you could have got in back here on the 15 minute, or even probably even safer right in here, even though the 1 hour is just giving it to you now. Does that make sense? So that gives you how many pips? You would be up almost 80 pips if you would have entered on the 15 minute, because you would have got in an hour and 45 minutes earlier than everybody else, because I just got the alert right now on the 1 hour. Do you see that?
Do it one more time.
Okay, so look, I just got the alert at 8 o'clock telling me that it's a potential setup has happened, right? Because the cross just happened. So it's telling me this is setting up for a buy on UJ on the hour, right?
Right.
If you look at the 15-minute chart, it would have given me the cross back here. That's where I would have gotten the alert had I had an alert on the 15-minute.
So basically, all right. I kind of think of it like flying in a plane. In the plane, you know, these indicators are like altimeter, etc. So if I see them moving, I know we're going down a little bit, but it's just a little bit of turbulence until we're gonna come back up. That's kind of how I think of it.
Yep.
So basically, if I got it right, I want to enter on the 15 because it's gonna give me a longer period to get set up or whatever, but still stick to the 1 hour indicator because that's the overall trend that should be occurring in that 1 hour. Is that correct? My understanding of it or no?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, basically, like if you, I say it like this. If you're marking up your analysis on the 1 hour, you want to be looking at your entries on the 1 hour because you might see that the 15-minute is actually pulling back when the 1 hour is actually setting up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And if it does that, then what you need to do is wait for the pullback to finish before you enter so that you can continue moving in the right direction if you're going to try and do an earlier entry on a smaller time frame.
So I would want to wait for the 15 minutes to be correlating basically the same direction as the 1 hour before.
Yes. Yes, because if you don't and you jump in, what's going to happen is you're going to go into the negative and you're going to pull back until it reverses.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, but then, so long as that 1 hour stays, you know, pointing up, because I've been looking at the RSI and trying to figure out if it's a certain number when the RSI drops below a certain number, like get out or.
Yeah.
But basically, if that 1 hour is still in a buy, stick with it. As long as the 1 hour is in the buy and don't get the emotional thing with the 15-minute, basically.
Exactly. Yep. And you want to look at the 4 hour to see how long that 1 hour trade is going to last.
Okay. Can you give an example?
It's going to take 4 1 hour candles to make one 4 hour candle.
But that's why I start looking at the 15-minute candles, because if I'm in a 1 hour in a 5-minute candles, because if I'm looking at the 15 minutes and I can see what's happening, you know, in 3 5-minute candles, then I know what the 15 minutes is going to do essentially.
Right. So look, hold on, let me see. Wait a minute. Okay. No, not that one. This first one. Okay, so look, this is the 15-minute entry, right? This is the hours entry. Because I just got the alert on this one, and this is the candle that's moving right now. Let's change this color to, I don't know, green. Nah, blue. Nah, what? Purple? Yeah, purple, better. All right, so check it out. That's the hours entry, right?
Right.
Look at the 4 hours entry.
Right.
Right? So actually the 4 hour or the 4 hour or the 15-minute, I guess, told us, the 4 hour told us before the hour told us. So this hour cross is probably a second entry, like another entry to this 4 hour. Because if you notice, it was going up, it pulled back, and now it's going up. Right? It's going up, and look. Up. That's why you gotta watch multiple time frames to make sure that they all aligning. Because if they start moving in different directions, that's why you notice that you think that it's going in one direction, but you noticing that your trades is going in the red. It's because of the pullback on a different time frame
Right.
that you're
And
not
that makes
accounting
a lot more
for.
sense.
Yeah. So look, and this was the 4-hour entry way back here, right there.
So you would answer that even though the RSI was nosing down a little bit.
Where? On the 4-hour?
Yep.
Well, that's kind of tricky right in there. Now this is on the 1-hour chart. So look, on the 1-hour chart, it was consolidating.
Right.
But on the 4-hour, it clearly just was a buy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because those 4 hours that it consolidated was in this candle.
Right. Got it.
That's why you got to watch multiple time frames.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are you ready for the next question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the other question that I had was, okay, we're talking about figuring out what kind of trader you are. Any suggestions about doing that? Like I don't play sports or anything, so I don't know. Like I don't choose teams and stuff. I feel like it's kind of similar, like to figure out what kind of trader I am, if I'm a scalper type, or like I don't know how to figure that stuff out. I'm just gonna jump from chart to chart.
Well, it kind of just comes with what time frame you like to trade on, right? What session you like to trade on, how your emotions can be handled, right? Me personally, I don't like scalping. I don't like having to watch the chart and feel like, oh my God, is it going up? Is it going down? And watching the candles go up, go down, go up, go down in between those smaller time frames. I'd rather look at a larger time frame, see the overall trend happening, and just actually place the trade, know that it's going in the direction that I want it to go in, and then walk away from it. So those are all personal choices. That's why this is 90% mindset and 10% skill set. Because you have to really figure out what type of person are you. Are you patient? Are you disciplined? Are you greedy? Are you selfish? Are you giving? Right? All of those things, no one can answer those questions for you. And the funny thing about it is you're going to find out so much about yourself from a personal standpoint that it's going to shock yourself.
We should just create a questionnaire for this stuff.
Yep. Yep. It really is a life skill that can teach you so much more about life. Really just from a bunch of colors and some numbers.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So it's after 8 o'clock, and I want to stay making sure that I respect everybody's time. So make sure you guys calculate the ATR for the currency pairs for the current week. I probably won't get to last week's for all of the pairs, so I'll just post the tracker the way it is, and then you guys will have to go back and do last week and this week once this week actually closes. Start studying the ATR for your 4 and your wild card pairs in your study groups, just so that you can start to get an idea of how your pairs work. And maybe you'll come to realize that one of those pairs really is the one that's for you, right? Study the assigned pairs, study the sauce, follow the trading plan, back test, right? Stay plugged into the study groups, ask questions. No question is a dumb question if you don't know the answer, right? And we don't know if you need help if you don't say anything. So with that being said, you all stay safe, stay healthy.
By the way.
Yep.
Just a suggestion, if possible, like you said, you got that alert. Maybe when we go through the class, at the end of the class, if it's a setup that you'd like to share or idea you'd like to share, so we could probably jump in and try a trade based on what we just learned or whatever. Just
Sure.
a suggestion.
Yep. That's pretty much how the classes start going as the weeks progress. So as you'll notice that I'll start pulling things together so that you'll see how everything works. It's like building blocks.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. I appreciate you all, and I will see you guys next week. Be safe, and I love you all.
Love you back, Sugar. Thank you.
Night, Sugar.